Hey legends, as you've seen previously, we re-geared our rear diff. It's been in the car for about a week now and we decided to take our front diff out last night and we're going to go ahead with the rear gear, but we wanted to put something a little bit extra in this. Ahead and partnered with LTG. Let's crack this open and see what we're dealing with. First up, we've got instructions. Definitely going to need them because I've never done something like this before. We've got our switch that goes inside the car. We've got a bearing, a bunch of shims, and then we have our little bulkhead for our wire to come through the diff. And what's in here? We've got our wiring loom. Then we've got this guy. Am I opening it? LTG do these e-lockers in two different sizes. They do it in a 3.73, which is suited towards a rear gear, but if you're just running your standard gears and you're wanting to chuck the e-locker in, then they do it for a 3.9, which is just your standard gears. So all you do is open it up, swap this into it, and put it back together and you're good to go. All right, let's get cracking into it. Now we're just going to crack all these bolts off and tap it apart. We've undone all those bolts now. Now it's held on by these two dowels. So to undo that, there's like little tabs. There's one there, one there, one there, and just in there. You can hit all those spots with whatever you have really. We just got a center punch sort of thing. Just going to work our way along tapping that. And if you dent it or anything, it's not going to affect anything because it's not part of the sealing flange. Ta-da! Alright, now we're going to put this off to the side because we just want to work on the carrier for now. Start by getting the crown wheel off because we're going to need to put that on our locker. Now we're going to work our way along the crown just on this face here with just a mallet sort of thing. It's my first time using a hammer. My hands are slippery. It's bullshit after many hits. Oh, we have success. Now we've got all this sealant and stuff like that. It's gone all chunky. Best bet's just wipe it all clean, get some brake cleaner in all of these thread holes to try and clean it out. And then we'll have to clean up the bolts as well because we'll need to reuse them. Make sure you're wearing safeties when you're spraying these holes because it's just going to bounce back up. Safety squint. Now we just have to get this bearing here off because we're going to reuse this one because looking at the race and stuff like that, it's still all good. There's no real bad markings on it, so we can go ahead and reuse that one. To separate this, you can either get a fancy bearing puller from the States, it's like $400 or $500, or we can just get a cold chisel and we want to sort of just hit it in there to try and separate it. That's coming up, so we'll work our way around. If you have a set of cold chisels, it's probably best because this small one, if I keep driving this in, there's a chance of it damaging one of the faces. So if I now step up to the next size, the only real edges that are touching are the two outer edges. Now my chisel's actually going all the way in and it's hitting the part that it presses onto. So I sort of want to keep an eye on it, but go on a slight angle so it's not bottoming out. This is the old carrier. So this bearing here, we took that other one off. Now this one, we don't need to take that one off because the LTG one has a different bearing. This is the one that's included in the kit. It's a little bit fancier. So this one will need to get pressed on there, but then this one is used for the locker. All right, so now we're up to the stage of getting the new crown on. So this is the standard one, that's standard ratio that's on there. This is the nitro used one that we're putting on there, so fair bit of difference. Different ratio. So we're not going to put this one back on there, we're just going to put that away for now. So you'll see us putting this one on, but same process. All right, let's just get this out of the way for now. Now we just want to make sure all of our surfaces are clean. You just want to check for any burrs from machining and stuff like that. This is nice and flat, so it's ready to go straight on. We're a bit lazy, so I'll just hit it with rubber mallet. Try and make sure the holes are lined up. Wow, how did I get that? Okay then, I'll go first go. slid that on there just to a point where it started to jam, and I just want to check that all my holes are lined up. So I might go ahead and chuck 4 or 5 in, just so that way when I'm hitting it with a mallet on, the holes stay in line. These are the bolts that we pulled out of our old crown. Just going to clean them up so we can use them again. Now that those 5 bolts are located, we're just going to tap it on the rest of the way as close as we can. Yep, now we just go along and tighten these up. I'm not going to fully torque them up, we're just going to tighten them up with a rattle gun just to a couple ugger dugs, and then pull them back out, and then we can apply the Loctite, and then that's when we torque them up. Alright, I'm just checking it's all pressed on properly, yep. So now I'll go along, undo all these bolts, and it will be stuck on there, pressed. We've taken all the bolts back out and it's still pressed on, so now we're going to go ahead, just apply a little bit of thread locker, yeah, or a lot, whatever. Do it to each bolt, chuck them in, go along the whole way around, and then we'll be able to torque them up. Now we're going to go ahead and tighten all of these up to 95 Newton meters. Just do it in like a star shape, so we'll just skip one and then we'll eventually get back to it. Just mark it so that way I know I've done it. Right, now we need to press on our bearing. Here's the one that we took off earlier, just here. Now we're going to need to press that onto there. Alright, that one's done. Let's chuck the new one on. I'm going to put the one that was supplied by LTG back on. Alright, now with this, we can't just go ahead and push it on like that, like we did with the other one, because this one, if you see, the cage is actually sitting up higher than the actual bearing bit. So we're going to need to get something that only touches that sleeve. With this, I found this 35mm socket. It fits nicely just in there. I'll be able to use that in the press. Like so. That's that. If you're using your standard crown wheel, then you'll want to just go ahead and follow these 2 pages that come with the locker. It's just measuring the difference between your original one and the new electric locker, just so that way you can work out really closely the new shim pack that you'll need, because you'll have to switch out the shims. Now we need to drive this race out. That was for normal bearings, because we're swapping it for a little bit smaller one, because this LTG one goes in there and then the bearing sits inside there, and these little teeth here are what lock in the magnet from just free spinning in there. For starting point, we'll just reuse the standard shim and then work from there. Alright, we've got it back up on the bench and we're going to chuck in the magnet. Just need to work out where the wire is going to go. So I think I've worked out a spot if I was to do it like this and have it come out right there, and then it's away from anything that could possibly grab it and break it. So where I want to put it, it's about right. Yep, that looks good, perfect. Just putting some masking tape down so that way all the swarf will stick to it, and I'll probably even try and go around the gear. Start with small. Next size up. Now we've got a M12 by 1.5 pitch, and we're just going to tap out this hole. Sorry, I don't want to upset anyone. I'll be back, give me a second. Alright, hopefully now I don't get in trouble. In the kit, you get this little bag, and this is the little guy that we want here. Let's hope I drilled it out to the right size. Picasso! Just put a little bit of this on. I don't ever want to get it out again, so why not? I don't trust it too much, so I'm just going to do it up by hand, just by holding the socket sort of thing. Snug it up. About there. There it is right there. We just want to make sure there's no metal left in there, because that's not going to be fun. So we just got some brake cleaner. Just going to feed the wires through. Let's see if it worked out or not so much. Might just leave a bit of slack on it. Worked out, of course it worked out. One thing I really like about the LTG kit that I haven't actually seen on any of the other diff lock kits for the Prados is it's got these tabs with the collar and it locks in. I've seen other ones that have 2 little bits of flat bar that like lock here, and then a couple other different ones that need like a metal bracket mounted. It just seems like a lot of effort, whereas this, like, nothing's ever going to go wrong with that. The wire's all in nicely. It does have an O-ring on it, but I like everything to just be overkill, so I've just put a layer of sealant around it, just that way I never have to think about it again. Chuck some oil on these. Gone ahead and cleaned thoroughly this surface here and also this one here. We're going to just put some more gasket sort of like along this groove in there, and then when it sandwiches together, it'll ooze out. Waited 10 minutes for it to skim off. Still a little bit tacky. That's probably fine. Chuck him on. Next up, we got to put this back onto the top of the diff here. So we got to go along and scrape all the old gasket off. She's in. We've just popped this seal out and it's been leaking for a while, and we worked out why. It was full of mud, so that's good. The kit that we got from Nitro Gears comes with all new seals, which is pretty good because this one and that one were both buggered. Seals are all in. Let's chuck these arms on and then we should be good to just bolt it in. Now we can go ahead and chuck our CVs back in. Being careful not to break our new rubbers. I'll pop this side back in. I can remember how I did it. Needs a couple pumps to get that in. Easy as that. So now I'm going to show you how to put these nuts on without having to use a rattle gun. If you don't have one, wind it on. And if you get someone to hop on the brakes, they'll be able to hold this disc still while you crank this. Right, put your foot on the brake, brake it bar. Go ahead and put the pin back in. I'll get a torque wrench on these tomorrow, so I'll leave the dust cap off. And I'm just going to go along and tighten up all the bolts for the diff now that it's all settled. Now we're just going to whack some fluids in it and we'll run it for a little bit, see how it sounds. Now we're just chucking some oil in the front diff. It's saying that we need 1.4 litres roughly. That's normally to change it, but it's pretty bone dry, so it might need a little bit more than that, but we'll see. You really should be filling up the diff on a level ground, but we've gotten to 1.42 litres and it started to overflow, so 1.4 is pretty accurate. All we have left to do now is wiring. There's the switch that we'll need, and then this should be our loom. Look at that, easy. All we have to do is run the thing. It's all run up neatly from the diff. Now we're going to go ahead and test it all before we run it all through the firewall. So I'm just going to strip this back, connect it to the battery, and then we'll plug the switch in and we'll test it up here. For the back of this, the instructions actually give us what color wire goes to each connector, so that's pretty handy. Looking at the pinout, we have number 8 is black, and we have another black one over here. Yellow with a red stripe, that one. Number 2, 3 is red, and 6 is blue. Alright, now the red and yellow, this one, it's meant to go to ignition on, and blue is to the dash illumination, and then black is earth. So I'm just going to go ahead and spin the blue and red one together and then put them on the positive terminal. With earth on, now these ones on. Now realistically, the switch should be lit up. I've just jacked it up and disconnected the drive shaft so that way I can freely spin these front 2 wheels separately. So right now it's unlocked. If I go ahead and lock it, it's now locked and it's spinning together. And then go ahead and unlock it. Yep, now it's separated again. Sweet, works. Now we can run it through the firewall. So I can see the hole, it's right there, but I just need to remove some of this plastic stuff out of the way. Start with this one. Just push the sides in, unclick this, and then this just lifts out. Still can't see what I'm doing, so let's take some more off. This just pops off. Take the side panel off. Pretty easy, it's got 4 or 5 clips along the side, and then pull it out. Do these 2 screws up here and this one here. Remove this, there's one more bolt that's located right behind here, so we're going to have to lift up the side panel and then undo that one. On the inside there's a little knob that you twist to undo. I've done it enough times I don't even have to look. And that just slides forward. And then you have it right there. Just going to disconnect everything so we can get this out of the way. Now we might have better luck finding that hole. Unbolted the ECU, it was held in by 2 bolts, and it'll just swing down out of the way. I've managed to locate where the hole was, so I'm just going to feed out the connector. Should just pop out into the engine bay. Pull that through there, probably work out roughly that much we need. Then we'll run it down to the diff. Grab out 2 connectors. Easy as that. Now we'll just cable tie it up. Try not to put it anywhere where it's going to get pinched, so keep it out of the way and not too much slack that it'll get caught on anything, and not too tight either, like that's bound to get ripped out somehow. Cable tie it like that. Nice little bit of slack. From the diff, it comes up loosely to the starter motor earth. Just cable tied onto there. And then a little bit more slack cable tied to this set of conduit, and then we're going to follow it up the firewall just up there like so. Now to the engine bay. It's all connected down there. I've run it up, cable tied it along the standard loom here, then it runs back in. So now we're just going to neaten it all back up. Now with the rest of the loom we're going to start feeding it through, and we're wanting to put the switch in the little center compartment. Now that that wire's fed out of there a little bit, we'll go ahead and bolt this ECU back up. I'm going to get access to in there. We'll undo these 2 bolts and we'll pull it out. Right, skip forward a little bit. We just drilled a hole in the back of this, ran our wires into here because we're going to have our switch located up on the side. We're now running the power end across down to where the fuse box is, just below the right kick panel. Back of these switches, you'll find a green wire. That green wire is the interior light positive that comes on with them. So you'll be able to connect your blue wire onto one of the green ones. You just have to splice it further up. And then for the positive and negative, we're going to run it down to the fuse box. Now I'm just going to tap into the full drive 20 amp circuit, which is that one right there. So we'll just pull it out. We'll chuck a little fuse adapter and then that'll be our power. For the earth, we're just going to pick up this bolt here, put a little spade and chuck it on that one. So I just finished connecting those wires up behind there. Now we've got our switch, we'll just turn our lights on. Yep, it's lit up. Diff lock engaged, disengaged. Alright, so we just wrapped up the locker install. Now it's ready to hit some tough tracks. I also want to give a shout out to LTG for partnering with us on this project, and a massive thanks to Tom, the owner, who's been supporting us the whole way through, answering all the questions, even up to 10 o'clock one night. If you're looking to get a locker for your rig, head on over to LTG 4x4.com.au. And they don't just sell lockers, they sell a range of performance parts. So go on, check it out.